I'm Allie Vettner. I'm joined here with Jason Schechterle, a spokesperson for Serenity Hospice and an amazing story and retired Phoenix police officer. Jason, why don't you go ahead and kind of just give us a little debriefing about your incredible journey and your story?
Okay. My name is Jason Schechterle. I've lived here in the Valley all my life. Back in 1999, I joined the Phoenix Police Department, and then March 26th of 2001, I was involved in a line-of-duty accident where I suffered severe burn injuries. It was quite the change to my life and my family and my career. I was able to overcome a lot of the adversity that I went through. I returned to work 18 months after the accident. I had another little boy 18 months after the accident, and then I finally retired from law enforcement in August of 2006, and I have continued traveling all over the country, sharing my story about overcoming adversity and having to accept the challenges that we face and how we can best live this life. And all these years later, I am proud to now be the spokesperson in community relations for Serenity Hospice and speaking about a cause that I am deeply passionate about.
Awesome. So I think it's pretty fair to say that you are dedicating an entire lifetime of service to either in the line of duty or even just a service of going and speaking to older folks. I know you spoke to my grandparents the other day,
Yes.
and they absolutely loved hearing your story. And if you could kind of just talk about your experience with Serenity Hospice and that when you go and speak at these engagements, what do you hear and what are you saying?
When I go speak on behalf of Serenity Hospice, it's something I'm very in touch with. March 26th of 2017, ironically, on the anniversary of my accident, the 16th anniversary, my father passed away, and he was, without a doubt, my best friend, the person I was the closest to. And so I experienced the transition, losing a loved one, but if you're lucky enough to be involved in the circle of life and it goes in the order that you want it to go, and my memories from that are nothing but, they're beautiful, they're peaceful. He was so peaceful and out of pain, and I was given an opportunity to be a son. The rest of my family was given an opportunity to just give thanks and gratitude and love for what he had done for all of us. And you know, we're all headed to the same place. We are all going to eventually leave this life. And if we're lucky, we get to live a full life. We get to be somebody in our 70s, 80s, 90s. So I also know from experience that it's easier to go through something than to watch somebody you love go through it. And even with me at a young age with my devastating injuries, I really had the easy part. My family are the ones that suffered the most because they were helpless and they had to watch and see what I was going through. So I know that when I go out and talk at these places and people maybe older or suffering different things that our bodies are going to experience later in life, and you're coming to the end of life, first of all, I just want to share my story with them. It's a great story to share, and might put a smile on their face, might give them a chance to reflect on their life, things that they have been through. Maybe they serve their country, they have a relative in law enforcement or who's a firefighter. They've overcome. I hear just so many great tidbits from everybody I speak to, and it's always with a smile on their face. And so that's my first goal, is just to, when I leave, they can tell somebody, you know what, I had a good day today. But I think I can also open their eyes to, you know what, I don't want my family to suffer any more than they have to. So when the time comes, having Serenity Hospice going through that process, it really is a beautiful experience for everybody. And like I said, hopefully, I mean, I'd love to be lucky enough to go through it someday.
Definitely. I mean, it's a remarkable story, and not only battling the adversity and then talking about losing your dad, your best
Yeah.
friend. My grandparents, they're 91, and I can't get enough of them, and I know how difficult it can be to see someone going through that, so it definitely resonates with me.
Yeah.
Talking about your story, and could you kind of talk about, I am aware that there's a book called The Burning Shield, is that correct?
Yes.
Could you kind of shed some insight to that as well for anyone else that would want to hear more about your story?
Yes, I was very fortunate enough to have an incredible author named Landon Napoleon write my book. It's called Burning Shield, and it came out in February of 2014. It's available on Amazon, and he did an incredible job of really capturing everybody's voice. Because my accident, I was knocked unconscious. I was in a coma for 2.5 months. I probably know the least about my accident than anybody, even though I went through it. So he took the time to personally interview every firefighter, every police officer that was on scene that night, all of my doctors, all of my family members, and really capture everybody's voice. And the story is something I'm very, very proud of, and that's what my presentation is titled, is Burning Shield, and the story that I get to share about overcoming adversity and what we go through. We all have a story. We all go through something. I'm one of the few people that you look at me and you know at least some of the adversity. But I mean, this was almost 18 years ago. I've got plenty more to go through now, just like everybody else, like losing my dad or trying to raise children and things like this. So the book is it's a great story about just loving this life and accepting whatever you got to go through.
Wonderful. So I know as a spokesperson for Serenity Hospice and as a son, you kind of have to take on that role at the end of your parents' life to be the parent. If you could give an inspiring or encouraging word to anyone out there listening or watching this about the next step, and if someone has to put their parents or make that decision about hospice, what would be an encouraging or guiding word that you would give to them?
Yeah, sometimes sometimes you're the one who has to make the decision. As the son, my mom was having a very difficult time, as you can imagine. They were married for almost 50 years, and she was very shaken up by what he was going through and the fact that she was going to be alone. And a lot of the decisions were left to me, which was very difficult because that was going to take away where I wanted my heart and my head to be, which was just with him at all times. And once we decided to go through the hospice process, and we were lucky, we got to decide together. My dad got to be a part of that decision, saying, you know what, I'm good. He took his illness like a man, and he said, I'm okay. And so we were able to make those decisions together. But once we entered the transition period and started being on the hospice service, that's when things actually got like a weight was lifted off. Like, okay, we know what's coming, but now I can just be your son, and I can just tell you over and over, I love you. And I held his hand as he passed away, and I mean, it was a mixture of tears and smiling. Like, I can't believe how fortunate enough I was to be 44 years old and still have my dad. A lot of people don't. My wife's dad passed away right in front of her when she was 9. So it's easy to put that into perspective, and that's what I encourage people to. A lot of people don't understand the hospice process. You know, they hear hospice and they think it's, you know, something bad or something that they just want to avoid. The hospice process is a beautiful experience, and to go through that transition with the help that you need. And the folks at Serenity Hospice, I would encourage you to learn as much as you can, because again, we're all going to need it at some point.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's incredible. It's always an honor to be with you. And if anyone out there is facing the same circumstances that you just went through, where can they find some more information?
Thank you so much, Allie, for today. My entire life has been about having the right people in the right place at the right time. If you know anything about my story, if you read my book, from having a fire truck in my intersection at the exact moment that I needed them most, to being so close to the best burn center in the United States, having the right doctors, having the family, the foundation, having the son afterwards, all the way up to when my dad went through the hospice process, and having them there with me. You want the right people in the right place at the right time, and Serenity Hospice can truly provide that for all of us when we get to those stages and transitions of life. And if you want to learn more, please see our website at www.serenityhospiceaz.com. You will be very encouraged about how you can handle one of the toughest things that we all have to go through. God bless all of you.
I'm Bob McClay. Here's our top story.